Hey everybody, welcome back to episode, what was it, 23?
23.
23 of Constant Agitation, weekly podcast about photography and sometimes other things. We're doing it live as usual. If you're listening to this on your audio platform, come hang out. Come hang out with us live. Nice start, I can't speak. How are you doing, Eva?
I'm good. Hectic day though.
Right?
Yes.
You've been running since the morning.
Yes. Very early day for me.
Right. So I just want to put a few things out of the way. Last time,
Mm-hmm.
we were online as well, live,
Last
streaming
Tuesday, yeah.
last week. So weird that it's not Friday.
It is
Anyways.
still weird, yeah.
Last time we did it, we had a problem towards the end. The stream dropped off. We still have no idea why. I consulted some expert. They are as puzzled as I am. So I changed a lot of things in the settings. You might notice now today that the aspect ratio is always also different. I'm not sure if it's gonna fix the problem or not. So if we drop off, we're probably gonna jump back on directly after it.
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully we won't drop off. I still have one more solution. If this week kind of like doesn't work,
Mm-hmm.
then I will have to resort to that one that I really, really don't want to use. But
Yes.
in other news,
Mm-hmm.
what do you have to say?
What happened this week?
Yay, we reached 1,000 subscribers.
Yes.
Thanks to you,
Of course.
our beloved subscribers
Yes.
and friends who join us every week. So we're super excited about that.
Yeah. Next week is our 1 year anniversary of the channel,
Yeah.
actually. And it was our goal to hit the 1K before we hit 1 year.
Yes.
And I have to say, I'm very happy that people contributed to that dream, to that goal.
Right. What other news we have? We have one more news in relation to Discord. So,
Yes.
Tim is here with us today. He's a friend of the channel. He's been on the show before. And he has a lot of you who are watching, I know, are in the Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are, you already know that. And if you're not, maybe this is a good time to join because they just announced a photo contest.
Yes.
So it's gonna be, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably wrong because, do you remember, is it bi-monthly?
I'm checking it. No, the runtime of this context is 12th of June to 14th of August.
Yeah,
so
so
there's 2 months.
2 months,
Yeah,
bi-monthly.
bi-monthly, yeah.
Yeah, so you can go and see there's gonna be a different theme every round.
Mm-hmm.
For all the information about it, double check, go join a Discord and see for yourself to know what the theme is for this round and how you participate and stuff like that. The winners will be announced on the show.
Yes.
Eva and I will judge the photos.
Yes.
And we are not allowed to participate.
No.
And we will be judging anonymously.
Exactly. We
So-
don't know who is the author of the photos we are going to judge and see. So we are as unbiased as possible.
Yes, they made a bot where as soon as you post a picture, it will repost it for you without your name.
Yes. It's
So-
actually quite neat. Very
Yeah.
nice. It's called Bortra 400. It's quite nice.
Botra.
Botra.
Yeah.
Yeah, Botra 400.
Yeah. Thanks to Danto for making. I'm pretty sure he made it.
Yeah, I think so too. By the way, just in case someone might be encouraged to join because of the theme, the
Mhm.
theme of this occasion is shapes triangles.
Triangles.
And this is up to your
Mhm.
interpretation. And I guess also a little bit about our interpretation, what we see as triangles on compositions maybe, or I think perhaps the photographer we're going to talk about, the photographer we're going to talk about today might be inspiration for such a
Yeah.
theme actually.
All
So we'll see. I think it's going to be really cool to see all those photos and see what people create.
Right. I forgot. I was so happy that I got a chance to use that silly sound effect. I completely forgot what I wanted to say. I had something to say about it. Yeah. So we have 3 different Discords and
the
3
show
different
notes.
servers in the description.
Mhm.
The one we're talking about is Film Photography is Not Dead, so don't get confused. The other 2 are also fun. The contest that we're talking about is happening on Film Photography is Not Dead. And I have to say, especially when I was very new to Discord,
Mhm.
I'm not dissing any other servers. I
Mhm.
love everybody. But I have to say that one was my favorite because of the way like Tim wants it to be.
Mhm.
It's a very minimal server.
Yes.
There is no bells and whistles in terms of like emoticons and so many different channels.
And so many different roles. And so
yeah.
many. I mean,
It's-
when you come to Discord, it's something super new. So
Yeah, especially for kind of like not super young people like us. You know, like we're not up on the trends and the stuff.
Yes.
I had to like
we're like, what is all
look
this?
up the meaning of POG twice a week at least until it got stuck in my
I
head.
still don't know how to use it actually.
I don't think it's gonna hinder your
Gonna
life in
happen.
any way. But yeah, I mean, if you join in the server, don't get discouraged if you see that it doesn't look as fancy as the ones you're
Maybe used to. Yeah.
used to. There's a lot of engagement there. There's a lot of cool content and a lot of talented people as well as other places.
And people are very friendly. I felt very welcome even I was like a noob. And
Yeah. It was for us as like beginners in Discord. It was the easiest server to kind of like get into,
Get
and,
acquainted with
meet people
yeah.
and make friends. Yeah, I don't know what he's laughing about. But anyways, that's enough about that. You can go and check all the stuff in the description. Film photography is not it for the contest we're talking about. And what else do we have for today? We have questions.
We have questions.
Yuno is back.
Yuno is back with very nice questions that allow us for very nice topics to talk about. And I think we're going to dwell a little bit more on those questions around the
Yes.
questions that he asked.
So let's
before we move on to
do you want
art.
Do you want to mention anything else before we jump into the questions?
I don't think so. My head is a little bit all over the place. Maybe just mention that I just came from doing a super fun assignment on photography.
Oh yeah,
which is the first
tell us
time.
about it.
It's the first time that I done such a thing. Apparently, it's very common in the US. I'm not in the US, so I did a surprise engagement.
Yeah.
So someone contacted me. Hey, I'm gonna propose to my girlfriend, and I want a photographer to be there, but I want something a little bit special, which is that she doesn't know that it's gonna be a photographer. So I want it to be a surprise. And it's like in the US, people like sometimes the photographer hides around or is doing like it's not really part of. If it's a busy place, there's a lot of people. Nobody really minds a photographer. And I was a bit like, all right, I have done this before, but not in that setting. I have done a surprise engagement where the couple were already having a photo shoot with me. And then the person that proposed then did so while we were in the photo shoot. So it was kind of surprise, but they were already acquainted with me. So this was a little bit different. And the guy chose a really nice place in the south of Stockholm, a Japanese garden. And I was able to pull it off, and it was super fun. It was a bit strange because it was only them two, and then me trying to do like I'm taking photos of plants around, like I'm taking macros and stuff like that because I was with my long lens. And then when I see that they kind of stop in the area, because I went in to scout the area and tell him, oh, this looks photographically nice for you to, and also it's been really bad light conditions when it comes to photography because it's super, super sunny today, but it's also windy and cloudy, but only at times, which means that I had to be changing my settings all the time unless I work on priority mode or something. And I like to work manual mostly. So I was like, okay, maybe we can find a place under trees where the light is kind of constant. So because at that moment, you just have to take the shot. There is no much room for error, which I was nervous about. But it was fun. She did notice me, but she thought I was doing my own thing. And she was like, oh, why is this happening now? There's a woman there. Maybe we should do it later or something. But then she just went with the flow and she said yes. And it was super fun. And then we just had a little bit of a photo shoot, more like portrait, intimate, just lovey-dovey, and it was very nice.
For me, that was like the most nerve-wracking part about the whole thing when you said that, oh, so it's going to be a surprise proposal.
Yeah.
Right? And, I mean, it can go either way. I mean, I don't know how their relationship are.
No, I mean, I did ask about that, how, like, because I wanted to know the situation. It's like, no, don't worry. Like, she already kind of smells there's something happening. She already applied for a visa to go to the US with him, and they applied for this kind of like engaged visa and things like that. So it was kind of, she knew what was going to happen at some point. She just didn't know when it was going to happen. And also he said, like, when I'm in Sweden, because she's Swedish and he's American, when I'm in Sweden, she's the one that takes care of arranging all the travels. And now it's me preparing this travel. It's like, so she definitely knows something's up, But it was great and it worked nice, and the place is actually very beautiful. I hope that we can go there someday just to enjoy ourselves. And Yeah, definitely. If you're in Stockholm and you want to go to a spa and some Japanese feeling, the Yasuragi spa seems to be quite truth to Japan.
Not a sponsor.
No.
Anyways,
I wish.
If you notice, I keep looking in that direction, and
What's
this is
happening?
very unprofessional of me right now. But this is what you get when you were doing it live. I just forgot about this auction that I saved, and it's 5 rolls of like super expired, super old rolls of Kodak. There's Ektachrome 400, Ektachrome 64, Ektachrome 200, Panchromatic X, and Technical Pan. So, and it ends in 25 seconds.
All right. Are you
Right.
going to get it?
So what do you think, guys? How much should I pay for these 5 rolls? I think we have a 9 seconds delay, so type quickly how much should I pay for these 5 rolls. And
What
I'll
is the
place a
bid
bid.
right now?
The bid now is 20 euros
Uh,
for the 5 rolls.
I think 30 something.
Okay, 7 seconds.
Come on. This is so nerve-wracking all the time when we're getting auctions. Did you send it?
Yeah,
Did you win it?
I win.
Woo! High five.
Nice guess, Tim. I put on 30 on auto bid, and I won it for 21.
Nice.
Yes. So here's a celebration. Now
Super
back to our
nice.
usual program.
All right, guys. Here you're having a glimpse of our life.
Yeah.
We live in between Tradera and...
I don't know what you guys think about this, but I got a bunch of APS cameras
Mm-hmm.
for some reason.
Some reason.
These 3, and I ordered a bunch of APS. I'm still waiting on the film to
APS
arrive.
film, yeah.
I think one of them
The
does have
interesting
film
thing
in
is going to be how do we develop that?
it. I found something
So
that
3D printed
Yeah.
spools?
yeah. So you 3D print a spool that fits in your Patterson, and then you can use. I think you can even 3D print half a spool. I have to double check. So it mounts to your pre-existing
Mhm.
spool, and it just goes a little bit slimmer than the
Mhm.
normal 35. I think this one is pretty cool. I've seen some videos on it. Seems to be like
The Ixus. Actually, when I saw it out of the box, I really thought it was a digital camera.
yeah, me too.
It's totally... So I think what happened is that the APS is actually quite a late system in film. And actually the APS-C, for example, of sensor size comes from the APS size of images as well. So they're very related. And I think the APS system in film didn't really take off because digital just came over and there was no time really for it. But the cameras are quite small, nice. Apparently, the film, you can stop to use it halfway and then put it somewhere else.
Yeah,
And the
it will
roll
load
keeps,
back
it
to
knows exactly where it stopped and then it
something
will
like
know.
that.
I don't know. It sounds very nice. And also you have different aspect ratios on your photos,
Yeah,
which is also super cool.
yeah. I don't know if it's super cool. Like I hated the
The panel is I don't
no,
know.
I hated it.
Why?
Well, I got some. Oh, can you get HP5 Plus and ABS? I don't know.
Not gonna happen.
Probably not. I don't want to. But yeah, I ordered some expired Kodak. I don't know what it's called. They all had weird names. Nexia, Axia, one Fantastica.
I don't know. Like
I
they
don't
have
know.
weird names. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
But anyways,
Fantastic.
but yeah. So I'm gonna try them out. So I was telling you.
Yeah.
Do you remember the family friend who gave me just like a bag full of
Mhm.
cameras, and then I
Yeah.
found some rolls in them,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I will develop them, and if I get pictures, that will be like a nice thank you, so they get these pictures that they really never saw.
Mm-hmm.
And so I developed their rolls, and I sent them the pictures. Some of those rolls, they did have panos on them because they had some 35mm cameras that will also
Could
like
also
just
do the panel.
block
Yeah.
a little bit of this. And it's just like
You're
you're just
losing
shooting,
film,
you're
yeah.
losing film in a way.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Like, I got in so many arguments with people on Reddit and
What does
YouTube.
it mean to be panorama?
Yeah, about the fact that I use the 35mm and the Fuji
As a
rather than
panorama?
cropping 120 film.
Yeah.
And you know how I feel about that. No, just, if you want a slimmer image, shoot a 110 camera or whatever.
By the way, we don't know how to open that camera.
Yeah, this one is stuck, but I didn't really spend time on it yet. So I will figure it out.
As
Yeah.
you see, this house is becoming the house of
Yeah.
madness camera.
So the idea is, well, I don't know if I'm gonna upload that video or not, but we already filmed the video about this. It's still being filmed
It's on the making.
in the making because
In the making.
I bought a bunch of cameras, like so many, and they're sitting over there in a bag.
A brick load of bag of cameras.
Just for one, which was a Yashica
Yeah.
T3, and it was such a good deal.
Yeah.
And those that's the reason why I got those, because I broke the battery door
The
on
freebies, yeah.
on my existing Yashica. So I don't know, maybe I'll Frankenstein it and use, because that one had problem apparently. I was
I mean, the listing didn't say anything. It was just
Yeah.
a photo of a table with tons of cameras, and it's like all this together. You want it or you leave it.
yeah, it came with a note.
Yeah,
It
is
came
it?
with a note. I put in 2 extra. Good luck.
Definitely.
It's like, yeah, they found on their packing, they're like, throw in these 2. Anyways, that's enough playing around. I should put my
I like
foot
playing
down.
around.
I like it too. It's fun. But we don't want to get too late, maybe. I don't know. We have a lot to talk about. Or maybe we don't. We will see.
We'll see.
We have a question. 2
Mhm.
questions. Well,
3 questions.
yeah, you will see. It's
Yeah.
a 2-parter and a second one. From Huno. As always, this is the handle. Follow him on Instagram. Check out his photos. So the question goes, how do you start your first portrait shoot? Like, who do I ask? I know friends and family, but what if I'd like a story to tell with those portraits? You get it?
Yeah.
Cool.
I do think I get it.
So what he's saying is that he has a conceptual shoot, as I understand. So like he has an idea in mind and he wants to make it happen for a portrait.
I actually got this question in a slightly different way when I read it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's very nice if he has already like an idea and a way that he wants to make his portraits to tell a story that he wants to tell.
Mm-hmm.
But I also read this question as, I want to tell a story with the portraits, maybe something that is unwritten yet. And then how do I work with these people to create that story and to tell that story? Right? Like it's something that it hasn't been. And you know, like I was thinking that everybody has a story. So you just kind of have to listen to them and then see how you can take portraits and photos around them that will represent that story. And I think that's perhaps the easier way, because you don't have to make up the story and then make them be in a character or in a place where it doesn't represent them, but you are actually taking their portraits to tell their story.
Yeah, so you're telling their story.
Yeah, that's what I was
Alright.
thinking.
Yeah, that makes
as a first
sense.
approximation as well. But
Yeah.
but I think knowing, you know, perhaps your way of seeing the question is more what he means.
Well, I think it's a good idea if we tackle both. So let's say, okay, first, how do you start your first portrait shoot? Let's start simple. Like, who do I ask?
Yeah.
Well, so you have your friends. You can start with your friends. For example, let's say you want to ask me, for example. Do you know that what do you know about me? Well, you know, I like photography. Maybe also, you know, I like longboarding. You know, I like music. So you'd say, okay, are you gonna take your longboard today? It's a nice day out. Let's go outside and maybe have some fun. And then that way I'm in my element in a way.
Exactly.
So like I'm having fun, I'm falling off, I'm getting dirty, I'm getting sweaty, I'm getting tired. You know,
It's not so much pressure on the photos. It's more like you're
Yeah.
there documenting in a
So-
bit. Yeah.
as then you would take those photos, maybe like when I'm taking a rest, I'm sipping a water, you take a moment. You want to, at least my style of doing that kind of work is to not create the moment, but try to capture it.
Yeah, being there.
So you just be there and just shoot. Maybe you shoot from the hip with a 28, or not necessarily from the hip, but with a 28 millimeter, you just, you know, snap around, I know it's not a portrait anymore, but it depends. If you want to create like a editorial, is that the word? Then you need all kinds of
You mean
shots.
documentary as
Yeah.
well? Yeah.
Then if you, let's say, talking to a musician, they have their guitar, they're playing their guitar, they might want to tune it at some point. So you're taking all of these shots of them while they're interacting with their instrument.
I think props are very helpful
Yeah.
and very helpful, especially at the beginning, where, you know, like you might be more focused on getting to also know your camera in the place where you're taking photos. It might be not as smooth when it comes to taking the photos as when you have like 3 years of really knowing your camera well and knowing how to treat with people. So having props and having them just being themselves with, as you say, their longboard, their camera, their whatever it is that they enjoy doing. I think that's a good approach.
Yeah, I mean, it could be about anything really. Like you can even not have props, but then you would have to do a conversational kind of direction. You could converse with them and ask them questions about how they feel about stuff. Tell them to take a minute, and maybe like close their eyes,
Yeah.
think about stuff and open their eyes whenever they're ready, and just imagine. Like you can ask them to daydream in a way. So
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I just
So
want you to get lost in your thoughts about the subject, and their feelings will show on their face. You might capture when their eyes closed. You might capture when they open their eyes. As soon as they open them, with maybe when we think, we look to the
different
corners.
ways, yeah.
So do it that way, and then maybe you can interject and add some direction. Just the way that you are. Maybe turn your shin down, or whatever you see the light is. I think, and the most that you can do, at least the way I see it in portrait shoots like that, like we're kind of imagining, is to make sure your lighting is down.
Correct, yeah.
So maybe rig up some lights or some reflectors, or make sure you're in a nice place outside or in a room with big windows if light is scarce and you're working with film. So you want to have enough light, and you want it to be nice and even. Unless you want a contrasty look, then also you utilize that. So if it's a super harsh sun, close the curtain, like one of those see-through curtains.
Try to even the light, make it soft. Yeah, that is always a good advice, at least for the beginning. Then, of course, you get more comfortable with difficult, tricky light situations. Then you can also do. But a tricky light situation might turn the other way if you are not very comfortable with it.
And then, since you're working with film, if you're working with somebody, like let's say you ask a cousin or a friend or a brother or whatever, maybe snap some photos with the phone or a digital camera, but your phone is there in your pocket, play around, maybe give them your phone, if you're friendly enough and you have some time to kill, play around, make them be the photographer, you pose for them, inspire them a little bit, even if you're not so comfortable, like the photos on your phone, you can delete them if or you just force yourself to be comfortable, make it a game, make it fun, because if they don't have experience being in front of the camera, then they're gonna feel awkward, you walking around. So just break the barrier somehow, maybe with some digital photos.
I think the advantage of actually shooting with friends is that even if they are not comfortable in front of the camera, your presence will make them comfortable because they are used to you. So try to approach it more as two friends hanging out and then taking photos as a pastime, rather than, now we're doing a photo shoot. I think the mindset actually plays a role quite much, especially if the person is not very used to being taken photos of.
Yeah. And you can also ask some colleagues or classmates or whatever your circle is, who are interested. And, I know in my last job, there was a lot of girls who were trying to promote their Instagram accounts. They were like getting sponsorships from fitness stuff, and they were down to do shoots like that because they actually need the photos, and they actually would like to work with professional photographers at some point maybe, but they still maybe don't feel like they can shell the money to pay for a shoot. So maybe working as a collab with a friend who also is trying to build a portfolio is a win-win for both parties. So if you know somebody who's an influencer wannabe or that kind of type, ask them, say, hey, I can offer you some cool photos on film. I know you personally, I think you mostly shoot black and white. I've seen some of your color photos as well. So maybe look into collaborating with someone.
I think everyone is down for film photos.
Yeah,
especially now. Like
it's
it
trendy,
is an advantage.
it's unique, it's a lot of fun. And the fact that you don't see them immediately, there's this mystery about it, there's this anticipation. So, and that's the thing. I always like talk about this. I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but something about film photos
Mm-hmm.
that they instantly feel like a memory.
Yeah.
And we were watching that Smarter Everyday video he was talking about as well. A really cool video. I love that channel, and I was like surprised that
It's
he
so
did
cool.
a video about film. He was saying that these photos have some like magic. He was very like poetic about it in some way. I'm less like that because I don't know why. But anyways, what I try to say is that you never see the photo as soon as you take it.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
You know, there's always a waiting period. So I think your first interaction with that, your first experience of that photo when you're looking at it is already a memory
Mm-hmm.
because it's at least a few days have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So you never like took the photo and saw it on a screen.
But in the
or-
back of the camera or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the back of the camera is a screen, and most likely that's the only version you're gonna have that photo in, unless you actively print it nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody has access to screens
Mm-hmm.
all over the place. So yeah, I think that covers it. If you have anything that is unclear, please write it in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I know you left another question. Thoughts on your photography being inspired by movies?
This is good.
You want to start?
I think there's a big potential for inspiration in movies because there are very great cinematographers out there
Mm-hmm.
where they really do amazing job of creating special compositions. And I think if you like the cinematic feel, you can get that inspiration to transform your photography into having more cinematic feel in the way that the objects are related to each other and the particular compositions and the particular ways of seeing the world around. Or also I feel like cinematography inspired photography somehow seems to help telling a story, which is a little bit related to what we were mentioning before with the portraits. How do you tell a story with the portraits? And I think if you take inspiration from movies, you might actually be halfway there, because the way that the elements in the picture or in the movie that relate to each other, they already imply some history, some story behind. So I think inspiring portrait photography from movies, it's a really cool way to tell stories.
Well, you know, I always thought of it the other way around. I always thought that really nice cinematography is inspired by photography.
I think it might go both ways.
You know, because here's the thing. With cinematography, you're working with motion picture, right?
Mhm.
So the picture is constantly moving,
Mm-hmm.
and also your framing has the ability to change
Over time. Mm-hmm.
over time. So let's say if I'm chasing you, I can chase you in a way that my composition changes,
Mm-hmm.
or I can change you in a way that my composition stays constant.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's say if I'm following the rule of thirds and you're on the move, then if I want to keep if I want to keep you on the third, I need to be careful to keep you on the third,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for example, the rule of third itself is inspired from photography, which was inspired from painting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think all of these compositions,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, if we're talking just about composition, I feel like it's intentional. There's a reason why the camera is moving in this way and not any other way. There's a reason why the frame looks like this and not in any other way. We
Mhm.
talked about Mr. Robot, one of my favorite things when it came to one of my favorite series when it comes to cinematography, because they utilize these really intense compositions
Mm-hmm.
to emphasize something in the story. And we have seen similar techniques from photographers of the past, especially like documentary and street photographers, who would utilize such like sometimes chaotic, sometimes very intense in the way that your subject is almost outside the frame type of compositions. So for me, I feel that I like it. It's inspired from photography. Now, where the way it separates itself is motion, right? It's what's happening, what's the next frame, and the next frame, and the next frame is going to be. And I feel when you take that into photography,
Mm-hmm.
that's the only element that really you can borrow from motion picture is the passing of time, is the anticipation of what's coming, and the amplification
That
or
the something
the
has
implication
happened.
implication
Implication, yeah, that whatever has happened
yeah.
before. Yeah, but that is definitely true. But I think also like
No, hold on. I'm gonna do this. Hopefully, we won't crash. But I really want to see this photographer. You can. Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, no problem. I'm reading here the chat. Tim is saying, speaking of motion picture, I recently learned that motion picture labs don't guarantee a scratch-free film. Interesting, since with Riot, if that was the case with the still photography. Well, I guess because of the process, you know, and how much the rolls of film they move around and they have to be spool and re-spool and move. Like there is risk for scratches, definitely. But what I was seeing more, the topic is how can someone that is coming into photography, right, get and use inspiration from watching films into their photography as well. And yeah, there are like crazy good cinematographers or directors as well. Like for example, one of my favorite directors, which is apparently I read online that is the typical director that a lot of girls like, which is Wes Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I love Wes Anderson movies because of how they look. And I would love to create photographs that are basically shots, moments in time from that look like they would belong to a story told that way and to a movie presented that way.
But that's the thing. Wes Anderson is another example that I believe is inspired by photography.
I'm not arguing against.
Every frame is designed to.
It's so tight and it's so thought through. I understand that.
To me, the way that I watch a Wes Anderson movie, especially especially the Darjeeling Express.
The Darjeeling Limited.
Limited.
Yeah.
It's almost like a slideshow with one character superimposed on a picture
on the background. Yeah.
On the background, and they're moving. You know, it's kind of like it's like jumping between sets of puppets. Mm-hmm. You know, like the marionette.
Yeah.
So you're just like every time you move the camera, it's like
it's a new setup.
It's actually not moving the camera. It's like a transition effect on a slideshow to another set that is like a background with something moving in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's, I think, before Mr. Robot, that's when I first saw Wes Anderson's work. I was like, this is almost like this is so on point with the word motion picture.
Yeah,
like
right?
So on point.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a picture.
The ultimate motion picture. Right?
Yeah. I'm trying to. I found this guy, Ryan McKinley. Is that his name? McKinley. And
you want to show it?
Yeah, but there's a lot of not safe for work photos. So I'm trying. Yeah, like I'm looking at a lot of naked people right now. Wait, let me see. Come on, man, just one clothed person. Oh my god, I just saw a penis. Anyways, I hope this is entertaining. Come on.
For sure.
I'm serious. All of them are naked.
What kind of movies does he do?
He doesn't do movies. He's a photographer. He's the guy who did the Brad Pitt GQ photo shoot.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Maybe we show the Brad Pitt ones.
Yeah, maybe I should do that because this is not going anywhere.
The Brad Pitt ones, at least, is only men's chest at most skin we see. He has really interesting work, actually.
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
He actually got a lot of bad mouth because of that shot, of that shoot, because people were saying doesn't really represent Brad Pitt as Brad Pitt, but it's more like part of a movie or a story.
Yeah.
It's like, that was the whole idea of that shoot, was that.
All right. So hopefully this will give you some ideas. Let me reframe this. Okay. So for me, when I saw these photos, I felt like they were screenshots from of a video.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but almost all of these shots, like this one, it's even shaky. There's a little bit of motion blur. He seems like he's crying. It's emotional. He's falling. There's a lot of cool things happening in these shots. And, like this one, even though it's in a portrait orientation, something about it makes me feel like it's a panning shot, when somebody's lying. In movies, you've seen this all over the place. And then you see like a top-down view with the camera going down on the subject slowly. And then you cut to a different angle. So, yeah, something about these photos, they all, like this one.
Yeah, that one is
It's crazy.
it's really cool. This was shot in the Everglades National Park, by the way, in the U.S.
Yeah, I wonder how he got him in this pose.
I think he probably shoot
He
off
was
from somewhere.
He was rolling. You can see he's rolling
Yeah,
down.
he's rolling.
And to me, these clearly look like they give me that feel that there's a lot of motion happening in these shots. So I think to me personally, that's the clear
Inspiration
line that, okay, this is feels cinematic. Because that's, in my head at least, what differentiates cinema from a photo is motion.
Yeah.
Does that
I
make any
understand
sense?
what you mean.
A lot of people maybe think it's the aspect ratio, which can play a role. Like if you're shooting super wide, like 2:1 or even narrower, or wider, I should say, then yeah, it's gonna subconsciously make you feel like
you're in a movie.
Because that's the aspect ratio. Like most Hollywood movies are in, like super wide screen with anamorphic lenses and stuff like that. Using anamorphic lenses will give you that effect. I know a guy who uses a trick with the string, like a fishing string in front of a lens, and it does this the Michael Bay kind of light splitting.
Light flashes kind of thing.
Yeah, so it takes any source of light, and instead of circular bokeh, you get a line.
Yeah, you split it from the center of the...
Yeah, and then it depends how you're orienting the string. So if you put it on a filter and then you turn the filter, you will change the lights if they're going vertical or horizontal.
Yeah.
And that's actually a quality of some anamorphic lenses, is that they have line bokeh. And that's why you see them in a lot of Michael Bay movies. So yeah, some people use a string, which is, you can turn any lens.
Like a fish string, yeah.
Yeah.
I think also another part, and I've seen a lot of people, of course, we in film photography praise cinestill, tungsten, balance film. The color grading of the photos that you might do might also give you a more or less cinematic feel, or like it's inspired from a movie as well.
For sure. Yeah, those like cyan greenish
the split
shadows.
toning, yes, definitely.
Which is, I think, is a quality of a lot of Kodak films, or like Kodak will. And I mean, I've seen Kodak photos, like portrait photos and stuff like that, with a magenta color cast. Not magenta color cast, but magenta in the shadows. But I think that's totally, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. This is a hot topic of debate, that if like film is going to look a certain way. I've seen a lot of people say, well, it's interpretation. It's up to your, whatever like equipments you're using. They're going to look a different way. But then I learned during that Smarter Everyday video that there's this
kits to measure, it's like some calibration
there's
tool.
a calibration thingy that the companies will send, and they will, so the lab will
know how it's supposed to look, and then the lab develops it and scans it or whatever it does, and then send it back to the manufacturer, and then they will give a rating of how accurate their colors are, which is very cool actually.
Yeah, so I guess then you will doing that, or looking at the scan of a certain lab who's certified and with the then you can see that, this film has a tendency to have a specific color cast in the shadows, or a specific color cast in the highlights, or whatever. For me, at least working with film personally, I've noticed that some films will, because I can remove and add these casts however I like, I found that there is the only real differences that I see that I can't really change so easily are the dynamic range, for example. So basically the latitude, the grain, and the how do you say it? the relation of these colors to each other
Yeah.
in a way, like how much of this color exists in this color.
Yeah. The balance, color balance in a way.
No, not necessarily the color balance, more the color rendition.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for example, everybody would agree about this, that the greens between Fuji and Kodak are different.
Mm-hmm.
And Kodak is gonna have more kind of blue in the green.
Yeah.
Fuji's
A
gonna
colder
have
green.
that's Fuji's gonna have a cooler green, and Kodak is gonna have a warmer green.
Yeah.
And then you can turn that green somewhere else, and you can adjust all of these things, but when you're playing with the color balance tool, for example, you're adjusting how much color is in every tone of the image. So like you're working shadows, mids, and highlights, and those are casts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if the casts are inherent to the film, but I've seen, like, watching a lot of motion picture film, so film that is shot on movies that are shot on film. They often have this, Kodak basically have this kind of cyan greenish tint
Hue,
to sometimes the highlights, some of the shadows. Like, it's there, and I know it's not there, but I can see it.
Yeah.
I don't know, and every time I see that hue or that cast, it, to me, back to your point, is that it makes it look cinematic.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I've been rambling for so long. I don't even know what I said.
I was just checking up the chat. Chris is saying, to me, who loves 40s film, cinematic means almost a square frame and static camera work.
Yeah.
That's how they all.
So that's a very important point, and it really ties into what we're saying. It's that it has to do to your personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, Eva, for example, it was the colors. Yeah. For me, it's the motion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the implied motion. So for Chris, it's the square format, because the movies he watches are square format.
Mm-hmm.
Black and white. It has to be black and white. Instantly feels like something that I'm used to be watching as a movie. So whatever a movie is or cinema is to you, then it's gonna change the definition of what it feels cinematic, because we're talking about feelings as well. Like, this is a feeling, a something that reminds you of something else. So it has to do with your experience as well. But yeah, you wanna switch topics? I don't know. Did we answer the question? What was the question?
I think we answered and we expanded it. Expanded.
Yeah,
I think
we over answered.
No, it's fine. It's good. All good.
Right. All right. So today we're gonna be talking about a photographer who's one of Eva's favorite photographers. She has a bunch of books, at least one or two.
Yes, definitely.
And so what do you want to tell us, Eva?
Well, today we are gonna talk about someone that really had a crucial role in the history of photography, I would say, in the early 1900s. And I know I say this about a lot of the photographers we're talking, because we're going through a lot of people that were pioneers in the things that we're doing. But really, this guy, Man Ray, he is one of a kind, because he did a lot of different things, and he was always on the look to reinvent himself and never be static in the ways that he was working and doing. And he really didn't care about what anybody else said, and he was just like, I am gonna do my own thing. He even preferred to, like, he said at some point that he would have resorted to be a gangster if he had like the will to be that, but he ended up being a photographer in order to pay for making his own art and his own way, which is kind of funny. But Man Ray, actually his real name was Emanuel Radnitsky, but he never really went with his real name. And from very early on, when he started painting, he kind of took that pseudonym, and I think his family even took the Ray surname as well. And he, probably all of you know about Man Ray. Man Ray is an iconic name in photography, and he rediscovered some ways of working with light and with photography. And he is one of the most known photographers associated with both Dadaism and the Surrealism movements, which happened mostly in Europe, in France, but also were extended to the US at some point. And surrealism is still kind of part of art today in one way or another, or at least the inspirations from the original surrealist work. Here we're I really like that photo of Man Ray because it reminds me of the camera you just got, the SLR 4x5 or wannabe 4x5 that is not yet 4x5 that we showed a couple of things ago. And this photo that we're seeing here, it already presents one of the techniques or one of the ways of photographing that he got popular for, which is solarization. Do you want to tell us a little bit what solarization is? I know you were looking yesterday about some stuff.
Yeah, so solarization is a darkroom technique where you, during development of let's say a black and white print, usually when you take the paper, you put it in the enlarger, you expose it to light, expose it to the projection of the negative, you don't see anything until you put it in the developer. And then the developer will start reacting with the silver highlights, turning them into actual silver. I don't know if I'm making this up, but I might be remembering correctly. And that's when you see the black come into the photo. And that's the the negative the negative is inverted, as you already know. So the blacks are white and the whites are black. So, but when you expose it to the paper, you're exposing the negative image, and then you're developing it, and the blacks are gonna be black again, like they were. The original blacks, yeah. So, for example, we look at his hair. Here we see it's black, and his skin is relatively white to the black of his hair, and his shirt, which is very white, is white. Again, on the negative, this would be black, and this would be white, right? So, as the photo is developing, what you would do if you're doing solarization is that you would take it out, put it in a water bath to kind of halt the development, and then you would turn on the light. So at this point, you haven't fixed the paper yet.
Yes, so it's still light sensitive.
It's still sensitive to light, so when you turn it on, then the stuff that have not been exposed, like so the black in his hair here we can see, have not been exposed to light.
No, because it's gonna be so in the negative that is a black part that it blocks the light. So then the part that is the other way around. The other way around. No, we're mixing it up. The hair is actually parts that is gonna be exposed in the paper.
Yeah.
Because it's white on the negative. Right. And then as soon as you actually see the image coming up, you stop it and then you expose it to light. So the parts that still haven't been exposed to light on the paper.
Maybe this image is not the best example.
They are going to, we are going to find some others. But basically what you're doing is you introduce an element of exposing your paper while it's developing from the exposure of the negative. And then you continue and finish up the development. And that gives this halo kind of feeling and also tonization, I would call it, of the highlights in the photos as well.
I was looking at this image and I knew he did something suspicious with it, because you can see the effect of solarizations in some parts, while you clearly don't see it in other parts.
I guess he maybe covered it and then only exposed midway a part of the picture. You can do a lot of things in the darkroom, right?
Well, what I'm thinking about, maybe if it was a contact print, and then he somehow kept it like in contact, or maybe put it back in the contact printer, closed it again, and that's when he exposed it again. Because that will do something.
For sure. I mean, the idea is that, when you are doing this mix of exposing the negative and also exposing the positive as is already happening, it's going to give you these different tones in the highlights and this halo effect, and it's kind of like a mix of a positive and a negative working together to create an image. And what I read about is that actually this happened by mistake. He was working on the darkroom and his assistant were also there, and he was developing and his assistant tripped on a stool or something and turned on the light by mistake when he maybe she put the hands like this and kind of turned the switch, and then he was like no and turned the switch off quickly, and then he decided to continue with the development and then put it in the fixer, and then he saw this effect happening in the photos, and then he went on to explore a little bit more how this actually happens.
So I pulled up some examples, right,
Yeah.
about like how solarization or how to expect solarized images to look.
Yeah.
Is that the image will almost look like half negative, half positive.
Yeah, exactly.
It will have
It's a
elements
mix.
of both, right?
Yeah, that's a very extreme example of solarization.
So, but I'm guessing, and as you were saying, it happened by accident when
Yeah.
somebody tripped and turned on the light, and then it left this effect. I'm guessing the light was turned on while the sheet was in the developer.
Yeah, actually, what I read or I listened to a documentary, and I got the feeling that this was also done with negatives. But that feels a bit weird because then a negative's still a negative and it's going to get the light as a negative. So how would that? It would just make it darker overall, right? So
No, but it's kind of like, well,
You know what I mean?
some parts of it will be darker,
yeah,
right?
especially the ones that haven't been exposed before because there's still silver highlights.
So the
that
shadows.
What is the shadows? Yeah, would get like shine or something like that.
Something will happen to them.
Yeah.
The shadows or the blacks. Yeah, but again, like it could happen during development if they were using something like a dip and dunk or some kind of open tray development if they're using sheets.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really cool technique to play around with.
Especially if you have access to a dark room, I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's very similar to how you would make positive film. Not necessarily slide film because that's a different thing. But if you take a film that is not slide and you want to shoot it, want to develop it in slide, so like a lot of people do it with black and white film. We talked about it last week or the week before when we did it with the direct positives. So you have to flash the film
first.
or the paper completely, and then redevelop it. That process involves some other stuff
Elements of
we're not gonna get into, but this one seems super nice, especially this photo. I love this photo because some parts of it, like it almost feel like there is no effect of solarization, and then the other parts are completely messed up, and it makes me feel like he used the mask or dodged or did something.
Yeah, so the part that it screams not solarized to me is the white shirt, because in solarization the whites become tonal. They have some sort of exposure to them because that's what you are exposing.
It's gonna turn gray.
Yeah, gray to a certain degree. So the part of the shirt for me doesn't feel solarized, but the part of the outline of his face and a little bit of the hair and the camera and his hand even, it feels solarized to me.
And there's this sharp black line around it. It's just I don't know. It pops out so nicely.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're assuming that somehow the background was supposed to be what?
White, I would say.
White or black?
I think white.
Because to me here, it feels like he halted the blacks somehow. Because it could be dark behind him.
It could be.
I don't know.
But his hair was quite dark.
Yeah, the hair, you can see the hair is black near the sideburns.
Yeah.
But then
on the other part,
the body of the hair is completely grayish.
It's a really cool effect. It's super nice. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a real slice of our lives. That's how we spend a lot of times looking at a picture and guessing what's going on here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. What can we talk more about Man Ray? He was actually first a painter, which it keeps coming back to us. He was originally a painter, and he met experimental artist Marcel Duchamp. He became really good, close friends with him, and he started to get super inspired by the crazy things and conceptual art that Duchamp was kind of known for. Duchamp used to do crazy things like put a public toilet in the middle of an art gallery and just call it a piece of art. In it of itself, the object, the finalized piece, it's already a piece of art,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people didn't really agree with, or were like very keen to accept it as art. But Man Ray was very inspired by that kind of like subreal and bold movement on art, of saying like, which kind of reminds us a little bit perhaps to the Russian constructivism. Remember that they also were seeing art in, you know, everyday objects. But I think the Dada movement went forward in just deconstructing art and just creating work up in more on the absurd line, which will create an impact in the viewers. Is everything all right?
Yeah, it's fine. I had some technical thing, then I fixed it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. You are over there. Nice. Yeah, so we're talking about how Dada reminds me a little bit about the constructivism, a little in the concept or the realm of art that it represents. And Man Ray got very attracted by Dadaist works,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to undergo Dadaism, or at least create artworks based on Dada's emotion, or like on what Dada wanted to achieve
Mm-hmm.
through these everyday objects and the absurdity. But then he realized that already living in New York is already chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And as he put it, Dada cannot live in New York. All New York is Dada already and will not tolerate a rival. So it kind of like, it wouldn't really pop out. It wouldn't really make sense to undergo such a work in New York already. So he actually took the leap and moved to France
Mm-hmm.
to work hand on hand with all the people that were the avant-garde and coming up with these crazy ideas about what art is, what art could mean. And then if we're going to surrealism, it's crazy town. It's really cool what they were thinking, what they thought that art should be or art would represent. And basically the surrealist people were, I make some notes here for me, it's a movement embracing the irrational as a means of creating art and experiencing life. They thought that pure psychic automatism is the ideal state of man. So they used to experiment a lot with the subconscious. What is it that we have inside ourselves hidden, that the logical and the way that everyday life works doesn't allow us to express? I'm trying to express that through art and through these crazy attempts on film, on painting, sculpture, photography. I mean, we know Dali, we know Buñuel making movies, Man Ray. All these were pals that were hanging out together every day and coming up with these ways of inciting or putting dreams into artworks to awaken the part of us that is inside, that is actually what we should be, rather than the life that is happening and is constructing us and is full of logic, and that's not what we really are at core. That's basically the surrealism movement, or at least what I understood of it. And that's why the pieces that we see that belong to surrealism, they might shock us at first, but they have deeper, more, let's say, mysterious meaning, because it's about what is it that we're holding inside, what do we have in our dreams. They used to do these things, which is like a lot of people would sit around someone that is dreaming, and when they start dreaming, they give them a pen and they do automatic writing, and then from the things that they're writing, which is the expression of their dreams, they will create pieces of art.
Really cool.
Right? It's really, really nice.
It just reminded me of a book that I have that
Yeah?
we should bring here.
All right.
It's called, I think it's called About Dreams.
Cool.
It's all of the art. It's an art book with all the art pieces that is in it, inspired directly from dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about it when we get it.
Cool.
Really cool. Thanks for the reminder.
So
It's a big heavy book. I used to use it to flatten negatives.
it's like my Imagina book here where we have all the
Oh, that
washi.
one. Yeah, that's bigger.
That's really cool. A photo book. Maybe one day we can talk about it.
Maybe one day we will scan that washi under it.
When we get our light table, which is on the way, by the way.
Cool.
Anyway, before you move from this photo,
Mhm.
I love this photo because it reminds me of one of my favorite drawings by Esker.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Esker, he used to draw on perspectives, and he has a picture which is a sphere, and is his portrait being reflected on the sphere, but is actually made by hand, and it looks as if it was a photograph. It's amazing.
I really like this one because you can almost see like two sides or two perspectives.
Yeah.
You can see like the front and back.
And then the bottom also
Yeah,
being reflected.
because here
yeah.
the bottom is also reflecting on this thing, which is so cool. There is somebody with their back turned to the sphere, and there's somebody facing the sphere.
Yeah.
So cool. At first, you only notice this part, but then you notice the other one on the bottom.
Mm-hmm. It's a very nicely composed, and I also like, if you go like in like the lines, how the plate follows the reflection of the bottom of the front part of the plate, you know, on the sides, and then you have the other one. It's just everything falls in place perfectly together.
It is very nice.
And it's a self-portrait.
Is it? I don't know.
So Huno actually had to do a research paper about surrealist art for one of his semesters. And he says the Surrealist Manifesto actually describes the art as connecting dreams, the subconscious mind, with the actual described real life, which is the conscious mind.
Cool.
Which I think there is something to it, you know. I think in every kind of art that we make, if we are like we are talking sometimes that art should just be like, you are not supposed to criticize the art you are doing, because you are just a vessel for the art that you are creating, and therefore it's like you are expressing another dimension of yourself, or whatever is inside you, in whatever form it might come out, and that's kind of connecting the reality and the conscious mind with the unconscious mind. So I think there is some truth to it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at this one.
Oh, these are the radiograph.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Is this a radiograph?
This is a radiograph.
Is it just a crazy solarized image? No,
this is a radiograph for sure. So radiographs were actually, we did talk very briefly about radiographs on our episode about cyanotypes with Anna Atkins, because they kind of happen separated. So we are talking both with cyanotype, the type of cyanotypes that Anna was doing, and with these radiographs by Mind Ray, we are talking about photograms. So it's it's making photographs using light, but not actually using a camera. So it's photography without a camera.
It's basically contact printing objects.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So this was another of the accidents that Man Ray just then really explored and made it part of his own career and his own work. He was working in the darkroom, and by mistake he had some things over some photography paper, and he turned on the light before he was actually going to work with exposing the paper normally with a negative. But he decided to still go ahead and develop that paper sheet. And he saw these shapes and these representations, impressions of the objects that just fell on the paper, and he thought that was something so unique, so new, something that he has never experienced or seen before, that there was something to it to be explored. And that's how he coined the term radiograph. And then throughout his life he made a lot of different radiographs. I don't know how many you picked from the website, but there are a lot of examples of radiographs. I think some might be more attractive in the terms of like textures, shapes, the relationship of the objects. So these radiographs always represent everyday things, objects that you can find anywhere. They're readily recognizable. Sometimes they focus more on the pattern, so you might not really see what is going on. But the radiograph art, to me, it's putting ordinary objects into extraordinary compositions and relationship between these objects that you would not encounter anywhere else. And therefore you are creating a dream world with these objects, so to speak, which I think it goes, like I'm explaining it like that because I think it kind of goes well with the concept of surrealism and the Dadaism, which this belongs to.
I mean, absolutely, this is definitely all the way there because it's almost like it's so stripped out of its common nature
Mm-hmm.
when you see it in this form, whatever the object that you're photogramming, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And here, I mean, even look at this. This looks like a hand. I don't know if it was a human hand or a mannequin hand. I'm assuming a human hand because it's very like flowy. Like
I would
this.
say it's a mannequin hand.
You would say that?
Yeah, because it looks like the mannequins from the 30s, 40s, I think.
Maybe, yeah. Actually, you might be right. And then this is some kind of fabric that is a little bit translucent, or maybe a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely so dreamy, definitely so cool. And I don't know what this is, but kind of looking like clouds over there. So the possibilities are endless when you're working with
Mm-hmm.
with the photograms or rayographs in this case.
Apparently, like many artists thought that these ryographs they put together in form of photography minimalism, chance, and absurdity in a way that was never really found before in
Mhm.
photography. And I completely agree. They're like really cool pieces of art. Huno has continued telling us more about what he researched and found about this. He was saying that this movement goes around a lot of philosophy, especially with the one philosophical analogy about being a dream as a butterfly. So it questions what we perceive as real life. And there's also a lot of existentialism behind it, which he thinks is pretty awesome.
Indeed.
CM says he wasted a lot of photo paper on photograms when I was young. I would say you did not waste them. I think all those
You used it.
you use it. It's like you get to know. I think it's really cool. Like the first things we did when we got the enlarger was just like to put paper and then maybe put some photos and then put some developer in different ways. Just experimenting with the things you can get
Yeah.
with light and color and basically light and paper. That's it. Light and chemistry, as I like to call it.
Yeah. This one is really interesting. I'm curious of how this happened. I'm guessing this is also some kind of a rayograph, or maybe it's not. I have no idea. What do you think this is a photo of?
I think this might be a radiograph of some tissue.
But there is almost like a womanly figure.
Yeah, I think that's the
A
intentional,
feminine
obviously.
figure. Like even like the face here, and this is the hair.
Yeah, no, and she has the
and
arms like
the
this.
arms like
Yeah,
this, yeah.
yeah, I agree. But I think it might have been.
It's so
Some-
cool.
I don't know if I zoom in, it feels like little dots arranged together. And if it's a radiograph, which I think it is, the little dots, whatever they're made of, they will have different translucencies, which is
Yeah.
also what the radiographs play a lot with.
But what
Um,
are they? Like what kind of bubbles would be? You know.
I don't know. They're very round.
But then also the other thing, there's a perspective happening. So like to the lens,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe if it's a projection,
Mm-hmm.
then because you can control the light kind of, and you can control the angle of how the light is falling, if it's falling like this or if it's spreading like this.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the ones like around the vignette line, basically
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of going away in the corner direction.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so you're looking at these head on, the ones in the center you're looking at head on,
Yeah.
but the ones at the top corner,
So you think there might have been some sort of volume to
yeah,
to
you're
whatever
looking,
he
it's
was.
directional.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing. I'm going to try to do this without turning off the screen. Look.
Yeah. You mean the shadow,
Yeah.
whatever the light is, and yeah. Yeah, I agree. I see what you mean.
I mean, the position of the ball to the lens
yeah.
is changing.
Yeah.
Which is super cool.
And this is really cool. This one I actually have not seen before.
Yeah. I'm very curious about this one. It says here that it's a silver gelatin print,
Mm-hmm.
but what is it? What is the origin is a mystery.
With a lot of Man Ray. This is the same with a lot of Man Ray work.
Right. That I agree. I concur that statement. Here we have another solarized image.
Yep.
Yet again with perfect exposure on the face. So like, or perfect development on the face, basically. So the
Yeah.
face is not solarized at all.
Or very, yeah.
It's not. It's, look at it. The tones are in relation to each other.
Yeah.
So like the ear, the shadows inside the ear, like this one is a deeper shadow than this one.
Mm-hmm.
The hair is perfect in the same area here. And then the eyebrows, the eyes, nothing. Everything is perfect in relation to each other. And then the jacket is madness. And same
It's
with
so
the hair.
cool.
It's so cool. I'm really curious to learn how to make these. I guess.
I mean, if you are able to do a masking, you make a mask, which
Yeah.
is would be the face, and
Mhm.
then you just, it's a bit like dodging and burning in a sense. So you cover it, and then you expose the rest of the image, and then you continue developing.
So basically, what you're saying is that you make a print and then
Mhm.
you use that to cut a mask out of it, and then you make another
Something
print.
like that. There's so
and
many
You
things that can be
solarize
done.
that
Yeah.
second one using the mask that you cut from the
Yeah.
first one.
That's.
Cool idea. Maybe we will test it someday.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool stuff.
These are
here.
part of this surrealist, yeah, kind of like just in a sense to me. I don't know if it's because I have maybe been influenced by some movies or some art that I was exposed to when I was a kid, because my parents really like art in this way, and I have seen Buñuel movies, but to me these kind of photos, they are like snapshots of a dream. My
Exactly.
dreams, things appear, and they don't really have to have a relationship to each other,
Mhm.
or it's just the most random things. They pop out in front of my eyes,
Mhm.
and it could be a woman's face, and it could be any object. Like sometimes I maybe when I can remember them, I have the feeling that many times I wake up and I have the feeling that I had these kind of dreams, that I was just flashing things and here and there. Other times I can remember what the things are more or less. Sometimes they are just impressions or like feelings of what I see, but it is like that. It's just these objects or these things that are suspended in time and space and motion, and I don't really have to have a relationship with them. It's just things that are there.
Yeah, it's like dreams are like stepping into the RAM of your brain.
Yeah, I guess maybe
There is no organization of the information. It's just all of it right in front of you.
Yeah,
Whatever pops out at you is
in that
there's
moment.
no rational order to things.
Exactly. There's
Yeah.
no logic to it.
I mean,
There's no.
even a lucid dream, even like a very constructed dream, sometimes it would jump, like a dream that is following a narrative or a
Mhm.
story. It will have things in it that don't make any sense, like your pet talking to you, or whatever it
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be.
yeah.
So yeah, it's I think I don't know if anybody really understands what's going on with dreams, but one of the explanations that I've heard, like I think Jung was the one who maybe thought of it, is that you kind of when you do like a disk defragment on old Windows computers, you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do-
yeah.
So it's kind of like that. It's like going through your subconscious and combing through it
Yeah.
and seeing what is valuable, or
And then
like,
that's actually how memory works, and how like the brain resets when you're sleeping, and then goes through things that might have been stored in the short-term part of the brain, and then process it, and they go to the long-term
yeah,
part of the brain. It's amazing. The brain is an amazing thing.
it is very amazing. I was watching a video today about self-driving cars and the fact that they're trying to mimic how the brain makes decisions in terms of like anticipating things.
The neural
and,
networks.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, good luck.
Right.
Yeah. Again,
More
these
similar.
these solarized images, they're so beautiful. I mean, he nailed them so good in comparison to everything else I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like these should have like a name like a rheograph
That is
more
just
than the
like-
rheograph. Do you know what I mean? He was so good at it. Let's see. Here is what's happening here. This is like a heavily solarized image.
Yeah.
And do you think it's a solarized rheograph? Do you think the hands? No, it wouldn't be. That's a picture. What am I saying? We can see texture on this side.
Yes.
And the nails and everything. So it's a picture.
It's a picture, yeah.
It's a print.
So this exactly. So the part that you're seeing black, it's the part that, would be the white skin in a normal photograph.
Yeah. So earlier when we were trying to explain, if
how
you don't know how these works and you're still confused, maybe you can be less confused looking at this one, because you can see like this is like a negative print, basically, almost.
Yeah.
It could be actually a negative print, like a print of a positive image. So like if you take a positive black and white image and you make a print out of that, it will be a negative print. And so a solarized image is somewhere between the negative print and a positive print.
Yeah, and you can have different degrees. So you can do more or less of the secondary exposure to light, the solarized step.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe like you would like to learn more. Always feel free to do your own research after the show and dig in. Maybe you'll find something we weren't able to find on how Man Ray actually got to have these different tonalities and nailing down some parts of the image to be absolutely no solarization there, while other parts were heavily affected.
These are also solarized, as you can see.
Yeah, and I think this one came in 2 versions. Not sure what the difference are. So this one is a gelatin silver print, and let's hope that they stayed in order. Yeah.
The tones are very different.
It is very different. I'm not so sure what's the difference between those two. It doesn't say here. But anyway, moving on. More solarized stuff. And like here, you see it's completely destroyed almost here and here. But then the face and the hands, something suspicious is happening there. Here, another solarized image as well. I feel like I have to stop saying
this
that.
one I really like.
All right, thank you for saving me. It is really cool.
It's this one actually. It's just I don't even know how to explain it. To me, it's like a movie. Yeah. Like it tells so much, and it's so weird also. And it's even like a little bit unsettling, right? Because it's like, why would she be like that?
Something about the framing tells you that this was, again, this is earlier when we were talking about the movie stuff, like something feeling cinematic. Some angles will have a panning effect implied into them. So this one feels like it's mid-pan because the framing feels in between. It feels like we were closing up on her face.
But we're not there yet.
Yeah. We didn't start here. We started further away, and then we were closing in, and this is where this slice in time was separated.
Also the symmetry in it, like it's just so nice. If you look at a lot of the photos of Man Ray, they really utilize repetition in a way. Like you might find 2 of something in his images, and you might not notice at first, but there's a relationship between those 2 things. And apparently the surrealism was also very keen on the uncanny, which is like the representation, the doubling of things, and the representation of as I understood it, of something that represents something that exists but it's not there. It's not it, so to speak, but it resembles to it. That's what I mean. Probably that's a very bad explanation of what it is.
Yeah, I completely have no idea what you're saying.
Maybe if I see some example of a photo, I
Just
can.
kidding. This was, I think, because I was jumping around, so I didn't show all the photos that I saved. Because I was trying to stay on topic, but this is the last one, going in order. I put him, so I saved the web pages.
Yeah.
And put him in preview.
Oh, nice. To try to avoid having to be on the internet.
Yeah. Because, this way we can cap our RAM. But yeah, I think we went through most. This one I've seen similar, different versions of it. I've seen a colored one, and then
The color one is a painting.
It's a painting.
Yes, so it's one of his most popular surrealist paintings.
Right.
I have written the title somewhere, but I guess his painting was heavily inspired by this image, or like the photos that he took of lips of his numerous lovers and assistants.
Okay. I've seen different versions of it, and sometimes like he would use the painting, I assume, or maybe a print of this photo.
Yeah.
And then he would pose somebody, like a model or sometimes a statue, in the bottom half, and then take a photo of that, and then it will look like it's a one composition, because it's like down the middle.
Yeah.
Horizontally.
And I think lips, as some other parts of the female body, were kind of a subject of Man Ray's photographs as well. But I think probably the one that you're thinking of is this one.
That one, yeah. How do I get it on my
If
computer?
you put just Man Ray lips and go to images, you're gonna find it, because it's one of the most popular. And this is like, it's so Dali as well.
It's
when
true.
You think about it, the choice of colors, the position of these big lips in mid-air, flying from somewhere to somewhere else. It's this evocative feeling of flying and dreaming and being somewhere else in another dimension. It's called Observatory Time, The Lovers.
Oh, was this one by Man Ray?
Yeah,
that's
right?
That's
Man Ray as well.
This is one of the famous ones that I somehow missed. Yeah, so this is where I was telling you about, where there's a bunch of different ones of these. I'm not gonna try to find them because I know some of them might include nudity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of nudity.
Yeah, so then that this painting is utilized as kind of like a backdrop.
Yeah.
This one is, I think, maybe the least interesting of them all.
Mm-hmm.
Here's him next to it. And yeah, he did play around a lot with the anatomy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There is a series, I think, that is anatomy focused.
And also the trying to evoke everyday objects or things that are not humans by using the human body as a subject as well. That was another of his things. But those lips are really cool. And it reminds me of the beginning of the Rocky Horror Picture Show movie, which is just a pair of lips singing a song.
Uh-huh.
So I think they might have actually been inspired by this piece of artwork to do that. You still have to watch that movie.
I will. There's for some reason, this, especially the painting, it feels like the lips are a UFO.
Yeah, it's like, and actually, it's just, I feel like that it's gonna, at any moment, it's gonna speak and it's gonna tell the absolute truth about everything. It's just there, like, like it's just this entity that is there. And
it's like Let's Get Shrifty, Rick and Morty episode, where the heads just come and they're like, "We are the creators of the universe.
Yes,
Show
exactly.
us what you got." If you haven't seen Rick and Morty, I'm sorry about the reference, but you should be sorry you haven't seen Rick and Morty, so we're even.
Chris is saying, "What a world! In the 30s photographic almanacs in the Europe or US, nudity was not an issue, but today,
right?
Yeah, we agree.
Crazy. It's great. I mean, every time I'm worried about this stuff, I feel so silly about it,
sad.
Especially because we're talking about like the works of these people who are like, it's just art in a way. I mean, why? I don't understand. I mean, if you've seen the Philip Halsman episode, I wasn't even aware. Like, I was looking at the photo, and there was a bunch of naked people in it. I'm like, look at the skull, and then, and then you or somebody in the chat was like saying that, oh, there's so many naked women in the photo that you're showing. I'm like, what? It just doesn't.
Crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's a lot of sleaziness happening in the. That's a different issue. We were talking about this in Discord a while ago.
Oh.
Do you remember?
Was I
maybe
involved?
You were
I don't think I was involved.
Yeah. Anyways.
Another cool thing, actually, I forgot to mention during the radiograph part is that he experimented with doing radiographs for motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
So he would actually take pieces of cinema film and he would do the same thing. Put things with different patterns, like maybe nets and pins and things like that. And then he would develop that and then use that as part of a movie. And he claims that he did a full 3-minute movie in one night of work. And you can imagine how much is that. To make 3 minutes of movie, you have to make so many meters of film.
Yeah.
Because of the frame rate.
Exactly.
So there is actually a movie that he made in the Basque Country in the 30s, I believe. No, yeah, in the 30s. That movie, the majority of the footage is actually radiographs. It's really cool.
I remember seeing a one that is called Veil.
Veil?
Yeah. The
Not
Veil.
familiar.
This one, yeah. So this one, it looks like the woman in the photo is wearing a veil and like she has her hands behind it, but I'm suspicious that's not what is going on. More like he put something on top of the paper to leave the pattern that is a veil.
Yeah.
So
That's
she was just standing in like this, took the photo, then made a print with the net on top of it to create this pattern.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's my suspicion. There is no proof to what I'm saying.
I think on the photograms that I was telling, or at least in the movie, that this like the radiographs are actually the subject of the movie. So you are seeing this motion of shadows of objects on top of the film that is being projected, and in between there are some other frames which has a woman dancing.
I think I saw part of it with you a while ago.
Yeah, but probably. So really interesting stuff to try to put together motion picture and this new technique, radiograph, and it's really, really cool. The thing is that it would be inverted, I assume, when it's cinema, because like the radiographs will look inverted than when the radiographs are done on paper.
Unless I have no idea. I have no idea how to interpret any of that. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, you can see how much freedom he had and creativity he had in the dark room. And I think this is a really good point if you get in an argument with somebody who's a purist and doesn't want to edit their photos and be like, man raised by inspiration. Go away.
I mean, we still have not talked about the one and only Ansel Adams and how he was more a darkroom man than a photographer, as he used to also say to himself.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
And that's even a bigger, like, kind of not contradiction, but like deeper dive into the idea of editing. Is that because the group F64, like, kind of way was that you have to show it as it is and
that it's there's beauty in the everyday and you don't have to like make it painterly or have this evoking emotions or anything. It's just that whatever you have in front of you is beautiful in and of itself.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be over stylized or anything like that, but then they did a lot of work.
Yeah, but I think the key there is that what they were saying is that photography in its own right, with its own methods, which are inherent to photography, they are not borrowed from painting, they are not shared with other art forms, they are enough to be a piece of art. So I guess Ansel Adams, within that philosophy, he was like, all the work on the darkroom is inherent to the photography process, and therefore it's all right, it is okay to do it. Absolutely. For a final image, right? And I completely agree with that.
Yeah, me too. Right, so shall we browse more stuff or shall we move on? And
do you have anything more safe? Any more pieces of work? We didn't see any photos with Kiki, which is this woman with the black and white face, the African mask, and you just pass her.
Kiki? Oh, no?
Kiki Montparnasse. Don't Google her because it's all gonna be naked pictures.
Where did I pass her?
At the beginning. Go to the other side.
I am in the other side.
Go a little bit more. There is it's two faces. One is standing like this.
This one?
Yeah. So Kiki Montparnasse was his muse and his lover for many years. She was show woman in France, in Paris, and she's present in a lot of the photographs. And I think the photographs that depict her, it's always about this dichotomy between the colors, the black and the white, the African or non-Western mask against the Western woman, and this kind of like duality on the photography as well. Sherry has to go. Bye, Sherry.
Peace.
Thank you for being with us today.
I'm trying to be selective about.
Yeah, because she.
Oh well, these are. There's
should be probably some nudity.
No, everything it seems.
All right.
Safe for work.
Yeah.
So that's her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing. I just googled him and her, both of their names.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the photo with the mask, and here's a spread with the negative and positive of the same image. This one is famous. It reminds me of
with the violin.
This one reminds me of that Pink Floyd cover with all the
probably inspired by it.
Yeah, I think so. And this one is. Do you think that's a tattoo or like they?
No, they draw it on her.
They draw it on
probably,
her.
I think so. Yeah.
Or did they draw it on the later? Like
that I cannot say.
Was it on the model or was it on?
I don't know.
The thing itself. This is another version of that photo that we looked at earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Still, he nailed it.
So well, he many years of right. Many years of experience. He actually spent half of his life in France and half of his life in the US. Almost to the date, half and half. And at the beginning, when he moved to France, he didn't speak a lick of French. And still, he was able to communicate, to be part of this community that took him as one more, and he became this unofficial portrait photographer of all these incredibly talented and crazy mind people that he used to hang with. And then he actually got French with time, obviously many years in France. And I've seen some documentaries, he's speaking French. I have to say is the French that I understand the most that I have ever heard.
Why?
Because he has a thick English accent. So I can understand almost everything he says.
Right.
We didn't see a lot of portraits, but just to mention that his bread and butter were actually portraits. All these more artistic and more ethereal part of the work he was doing, it didn't really take off or was given really means of income for a long time. So he used to take portraits, and then his portraits became popular, and then fashion magazines as Vogue took him on assignments as well. So he did fashion photography, but very much on his own terms and ways.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see a lot of
I'm flicking through
some of the fashion work.
Yeah. He did live in Hollywood as well.
Because he had to leave France when the Second World War started due to his Jewish ancestry, I assume.
Mm-hmm.
So he went back to the US and he lived in the golden age of Hollywood, I would say. So he was also doing a lot of shoots with popular people and assignments as a portrait photographer. He used to have a very... This is you passed Picasso.
I did pass Picasso, this guy.
He had very particular... at least his own ways of getting to know the people he was going to photograph and how to place them. He used to always have the light. He would put a lot of emphasis on having the lighting spot on and ready before the subject would come into the studio to take the photograph taken. And then he would take the time for them to relax, being in front, maybe having a conversation, and then taking these portraits. He would actually be very adamant of not smiling. He didn't want people to be smiling. He wanted people to be in more like a serious state of mind, I guess, to maybe capture the unconscious within them. I am not sure. But his portraits are really, really nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some, but I'm unable to find a because in Google search it might be it might be if you search a
Yeah.
photographer name and you might get some photos from other
I
people.
mean, there is the. Did you go to the website of the Man Ray Trust?
Did you link it in the
Yeah,
thing?
it's on our thing, or on the show notes actually, if you wanna go.
Let's see. I didn't find anything in that one.
Yeah, because it's a very very weird website. We left it there because it's a Man Ray Trust Fund is the official people that have to they take care of all the Man Ray incredible amount of artwork that he created during his lifetime. So if you go to where it says
Image
Archive, and then from there you go into the first link which says Man Ray Digital Photo Library,
Okay.
and then there on the side you go to photographies.
I can't see.
On the side up, on the menu.
Photographic print?
No, photographies. It says in categories and the categories. And then you can flick through. There's a lot of work, a lot of things.
I completely missed all of that when I was preparing.
But I mean, it's a bit messy. It's really messy. This again coming back to like having a good website to be able to experience the artwork nicely online. It's an important thing.
I had a dream yesterday that we had the different music for the intro.
What kind of music?
Like somebody actually donated the track for us. Like somebody just,
Mm-hmm.
sent us a track because we always ask people if you want to send us some music to use on the intro and outro, waiting screen. We would love to use it. And now I just had like a memory of that, a flash of that dream, and like somebody, donate and go make them a nicer site. Go work with them and make it a nice. I think for all the artists, if you're a lover of any art or you have a favorite photographer and you know how to make awesome websites,
maybe donate your time.
Donate your time and make a beautiful website for your favorite artist.
Actually, when I got into the website of the trust, the website is not so nice, but it struck me because the first thing that you find is a big notice because apparently in France there's been a auction house that has auctioned 188 lots of work by Man Ray that it's allegedly to have been stolen by the last person that was his assistant before he died. So after he died, the wife was grieving and it was hard time for everybody. So this person apparently went into the studio and to the place and stole a bunch of artwork and kept it secret. And now they're auctioning out exactly 30 years after the wife died, because 30 years is the cutoff for some sort of like legal repercussions or around these kind of things in France. So it just happened now in 2021 in March. They were trying to stop the auction from happening, saying that this actually wasn't legal. They couldn't actually happen. But imagine how many, up to 75% of all the work that they were going to auction was supposed to have been stolen from Man Ray archives. Crazy. But he created so much. It feels like all these surrealist people, they were so prolific. When you go to the museums or the home museums or all the museums around the world that have pieces by Dali, and actually it's not that expensive to have a Dali piece on your home. When I went to France, I went to Montmartre, and there was a art gallery that had 2 little statues by Dali, and it wasn't that much. It was like 10,000 euros. I mean, it's money, but it's not crazy amount of money to have something that Dali actually made himself.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
And he would say, and if you're a company, you have tax exemption, so maybe it's like even cheaper. Are you working for a company? I was like, yeah, I'm very interested in this artwork. I was like, and I was just like there trying to see and be able to see so close. Something that you can actually buy. It's not just in a museum.
Yeah. So you can get super close to it.
Yeah. You can touch it. Is there?
This website is given. These are so cool. But every time I click on one to enlarge it, it opens back in the other screen.
Yeah. I told you that's why it's not worth that you went through the website.
If I had known, I would have prepared these because these look really cool.
These are part of the Radiograph series, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cool photos here. Definitely, guys, go check this link out. and navigate it as Eva said earlier. So you come to image archives and then digital photo library and then photography.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, check out the rest of it as well. There seems to be so many pages.
Mm-hmm. There's so much.
There's
work.
so many, like 20 pages, more, 30. I can keep going, right?
Yeah.
I can keep going. We're not ending. What if I click these three dots? Yeah, it keeps going. 84 pages. So, and the last one, don't look at it. Anyway, so and go check it out. I wish we could. I wish we had some of these to talk about before. These are so cool. I have no idea what I'm looking at. But I think we reached the end of our show
Of today.
because I feel like we have been on for 1 hour 43 minutes. Hope you enjoyed every minute of those.
I had a blast. I really enjoyed today.
Me too. And I don't want to jinx it.
No.
And hopefully, like today, we didn't have any
Any
interruptions.
issues? Yeah.
So I'm happy about that because I'm afraid to ask people to come on the show and then have technical issues. So maybe if we get a couple more episodes in,
Yeah, that everything goes all right.
yeah, we had somebody prepared, or we actually got in contact with somebody who did something cool. We wanted to talk to them, but there was a language barrier.
Yes.
So,
But they have been really accommodating, so we
yes.
might be able to get some impressions and some knowledge from them, and we will be able to share it somehow.
next week.
Yeah.
And we have a few other people that we talked to that also are up for joining us. But again, I delayed everything after what happened during the Regis episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then last episode, I just want to have a few episodes in, make sure that it's not going to fall apart while we have them on. Because, you know, we don't want to make them look bad either. That,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
No, definitely. And we all want to enjoy a stress-free stream and, not being
Mhm.
afraid that it's going to maybe fall.
It's so crazy though. You know, like when I stress test this stuff, the other day I streamed for like 9-10 hours. And I
Jeez.
was heavily like, today everything is prepared that I don't open so many tabs. That day I was watching videos. I was running Netflix on the computer because I just left the stream and I just sat there and watched Netflix. And and it didn't die. But hey, we're here again and we made it to the end.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching and listening. If you are listening to the podcast version, we hope it's not too weird that we're occupied with the screens here. We hope that you enjoy it. We know some of
Mhm.
you are still listening every week and we love you for that.
Yes. So nice.
And we love you too, especially that you are joining us live or watching later. No discrimination here. We love everybody. Yeah, make sure you subscribe, talk to us on Discord. Again, a reminder, go join the contest if you're interested. Really cool people on the Discord server and the other two servers as well. And we hope you have a nice weekend. Or it's not Friday anymore. What am I doing?
I also said happy weekend to someone at work today. I was like, have a nice weekend. I'm like, oh wait, it's a Tuesday. So what am I doing?
You knew you were coming to do the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
It's crazy. We shot ourselves in the foot real bad this time. So, yeah.
We just need to get used to it. I
have a
think.
nice rest of the week.
Exactly.
See you
And
next
I'll
episode.
see you next episode next week, Tuesday. Bye guys.